I see a desperate need for us to establish a regional church planting, training, teaching center to equip pastors to redemptively serve in broken down cities. And I see the tremendous need for it to be an outcome-based training. Right up front, what do we want to see? Our reality is right here, we're going to try to train a lot of people who have a full-time job. And they've got to have a full-time job or they're going to starve. Then they have a spouse and children. Then on top of it, they're involved in a fruitful ministry. We don't want them in the training center. Are they involved in something fruitful? Is something happening? Are they difference makers? Are they kicking a dent in history? If nothing's happening, we don't care to put them in. And then after that, the job, the family, and the fruitful ministry, we're going to try to teach them, train them in this seminary or this equipping plan. So unless it has an outcome-based teaching right up front, we're going to be barking up the wrong tree. So you asked what we need to do, and I think modeling and mentoring is going to be a very important thing. And I want to say again, unless it's regional, it's not going far, because the same harness doesn't fit every horse. I learned that on the farm. You fit the harness to the horse. The need in Southern California is totally different than the need in Northern California. The need of the type of training. The need for training in Newark is totally different than the training in Albany. And we need to fit it to the situation. So as I see it, it has to be regional, it has to be externally focused. What are you doing outside the four walls? This is a post-Christian era. How are we ministering? How are we connecting? Jesus always said, worshiped, went about doing good, and then he preached the gospel. People came to him. And we have to teach that. That has to be part of the not only teaching, but part of the training. So the new breed of church planters will need to experience the model of Jesus, and the mentors who mentor them will have to be in that model too, externally focused. Now, along with extremely focused training, we'll need the core curriculum to be solid, but streamlined. And along with this good systematic theology, we'd like to see a biblical theology, whereby they know what each book of the Bible says and how the whole theme of the Bible ties. Unless they have biblical theology, we're going to be barking up the wrong tree as I see it. And then we need practical theology in this. And this practical theology has to include evangelism, discipleship, leadership development, leadership training, leadership focus to find more leaders who will raise up leaders. And then we need to teach them how to live and serve in a rented church. And if we don't teach them how to serve and live in a rented church, we're going to see a lot of them out in the street. There are hundreds of churches that are underused totally, but maybe they use 2 or 3 hours a week. But they're owned by people who've spilled their lifeblood there. It's their church. It's their home. And unless we learn that we are guests in somebody else's home, how to be loving guests, serving guests, sensitive guests, grateful guests, unless we learn that, we're going to end up with problems. But you don't realize what a gift we have when we got a church setting there which we can rent. It is so economical to do that. The price tag of building, of land, and of insurance, and of utilities, and janitors, and all that stuff is so costly. This is a gift. So we got to teach them, handle the gift with sensitivity and with gratitude. And the third thing we have to say here is that we have got to teach them how to handle monies. Who handles the money? And how is it handled decently and in order? Because I've gone through a lot of pain with pastors in these new churches saying, I want so much money for this, and I want it. They go right to the deacons and they take the money. Well, it has to be done decently and in order. We've got to set that up ahead of time, and before they ever start a church, they've got to know that somebody else handles the money. Leadership is influencing people and getting results. Preaching and chaplaining are a part of it, but that's only a part of it. I think that if I were to describe a leader, it was one who can see what needs to get done and gets it done. I would say also we need to celebrate different kinds of leadership. When you talk about a real leader, some are priestly leaders. They cast the vision out front, and they herd the people along toward the vision. And they do it so nicely, people hardly know they're being moved, but they're priestly leaders. There are prophetic leaders. They get out and dance, let's go. And then there are kingly leaders, and I can't explain them, but they're more authoritative, but they love the people, and something happens. So there's three kinds of leadership that all work as long as you love the people. And then I think a leader must have, this is a vision, a call, a burning in the bones, a sense of we're part of God's salvation history. And we get a little part of it. But we're just a little pencil in his hand, but we are part of it. And unless that call is strong and there, we miss something. Secondly, a leader has to have a heart for God and a heart for the church with all of its ups and downs, and a heart for the world with all of its brokenness. And then a leader needs hope, a firm conviction that in the midst of the cemeteries of time, God's going to do a new thing. And the last thing a leader needs is handles. You got to believe that even when you face the Philistines and you got no real estate and no armor in your hand, God will raise up a jawbone of a donkey someplace, and he'll give you handles so that you can use those handles to get the job done. You don't have to. The big thing about leadership is you can't find people who will give you all the handles. Somehow you got to believe God will give you handles in the strange milieu, the change, the chaotic change. As you walk on the bridge and build the bridge while you walk on it, somehow he gives handles. So those are the things that I think vision, heart, hope, and handles are basic for leadership.